in a quiet village, cradled by a wide green valley, lived a young man named Arlen. At just 17, his world was turned upside down. Both of his parents passed away, leaving him to care for his two younger siblings, 10-year-old Leela and little Dino, who was only 6. The day they buried their parents, an unbearable silence fell upon their small wooden house. The air grew heavy, the world felt colder, and the future seemed like a vast, empty canvas. Standing before their home, Arlen made a quiet vow to the wind. "I am the eldest, I will not let them fall." From that moment, Arlen's life took a sharp turn. While boys his age were filled with dreams of school, games, and their own bright futures, Arlen chose a different, much harder path. He dropped out of school and started working. He had no skills, no experience, just a desperate will to provide. He took any job he could find, hauling heavy sacks of rice at the market, mending torn fishing nets for sailors, helping farmers bring in their harvest. Some days, he'd come home with only a few coins jingling in his pocket. On other days, he'd return with nothing at all. But every time he pushed open the door and saw Leela and Dino's small faces light up with hopeful eyes, he found the strength to smile. They were his reason, his anchor in the storm. Arlen became a student of life, teaching himself everything he needed to know. He learned to cook simple meals that would fill their bellies, how to stitch up their worn-out clothes, and how to patch the leaky roof before the rainy season came. He was their father, their mother, and their brother, all wrapped into one tired, determined soul. He was there to listen when Lila cried, missing the warmth of their mother's embrace. He'd carry Dino on his strong back when the little boy's legs grew too tired to walk. He carefully hid his own sadness, his own exhaustion, from their innocent eyes. But there were nights, long and dark, when he would turn to face the wall, and silent tears would trace paths down his cheeks, his heart aching with a profound mix of pain and overwhelming love. One evening, as they sat together, Leela asked in a soft, curious voice, "Brother, why don't you go to school anymore?" Arlen looked at her, his eyes filled with a warmth that could melt away the coldest fears. He replied gently, "Because you too must finish school. You must have the future I couldn't have." Leela didn't fully grasp the weight of his words then, but she would, years later, understand the depth of his sacrifice. The days crawled by, but somehow, the years flew past. Arlen continued his tireless work. His hands, once soft, grew rough and calloused. His shoulders, once slender, broadened with the burdens he carried. But his heart remained steady, a constant beacon of hope for his family. He pushed himself far beyond the limits of exhaustion, often going hungry so that his siblings could eat their fill. He saw the spark in his siblings and did everything he could to fan it into a flame. Leela, fueled by her brother's devotion, buried herself in her books. She dreamed of becoming a doctor, of healing people. Dino was a bright, curious boy, constantly tinkering and asking questions about how machines worked. Arlen saw their passions and encouraged them every single day. When Leela graduated from high school, her hard work paid off. She won a scholarship to study medicine in the big city. The day she was set to leave was emotional. She hugged Arlen tightly, her tears soaking his shirt. "Brother," she whispered, her voice choked with gratitude. "I will make your sacrifices worth it." Arlen smiled, a gentle, proud smile. "You already have," he told her. A few years later, it was Dino's turn. He too left for the city, heading off to study engineering. The little wooden house fell quiet once more. Arlen was alone now, but he wasn't lonely. He was still working, still hoping, and still praying for their success. His life was a simple, repetitive cycle of work and waiting, but his heart was full, anticipating the future he had built for them. Many years passed. Then one morning, the unfamiliar sound of a car engine broke the village's morning calm. Arlen stepped outside, his brow furrowed with curiosity. There, standing proudly in front of their old home, were Lila and Dino. They were no longer children but confident adults. Lila wore a crisp white doctor's coat, and Dino carried a suitcase filled with the tools of his engineering trade. The moment they saw him, they ran. They wrapped their arms around their brother in a hug so tight it seemed to mend all the broken pieces of the past. Tears of joy streamed down all three of their faces. "Brother," Lila said, her voice trembling with emotion, "we are here because of you." Dino, his eyes shining, added, "Everything we are, everything we have, it all came from your sacrifices." Arlen stood there, speechless, his heart overflowing with a feeling he couldn't name. For the first time in what felt like a lifetime, the immense weight he had carried on his shoulders for so long, finally, gently, lifted. Together, They rebuilt the old wooden house, transforming it into a beautiful, sturdy home. They bought their brother new clothes and, most importantly, they gave him the gift of rest, something he hadn't known for decades. They stayed with him, filling the house with laughter and love. They never forgot the boy who gave up his own youth so they could have a future. One evening, as the sun dipped below the valley, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and gold, Arlen sat outside, watching his siblings share a joke. A profound sense of peace washed over him. He had once carried dreams he could never achieve for himself, but in carrying his siblings' dreams, he had found something far greater. He had given them a future. And in return, they had given him a reason to finally rest. Because love, when given with every fiber of your being, always finds its way back home.